Holly will come about. Let us pray. Thank you, gracious God, for gathering us together in these moments, a time when we will discern how your Spirit is moving in our world. You have bid us love one another, and so we pray that our love may be reflected by our actions in all that we do. We thank you for those who have come, for the work that they do, and we pray that as they help us to understand what they do, that you would speak through them to our hearts. We thank you for all the ways that you have provided for us. We thank you for the blessing of this meal. We pray that you would bless it to us.
Perfect. All right, well, what a pleasure it is to come today. It's one of the joys of my job to get to share my mission work, my organization's mission work with people like you. So I don't know how many of you have heard of Family Promise before, maybe a little bit in the church, but I want to give you in-depth understanding of what we do, show you some pictures, take you on a slideshow tour, and my goal is that by the end of this discussion you understand what we do, and God willing that you want to participate. So I would like to begin by giving you let me first introduce some people. I think that's appropriate. So my name is Ted Taylor. I'm the Executive Director of Family Promise. I've brought with me Cheryl Tuning, who is our Program Coordinator. She's really the meat and potatoes of the outfit. She does the majority of the work. I just do a lot of talking. And then Diana Winston is our board member, one of our board members, and she came as well today. Woo. Oh, okay.
We got some people that requested that.
Okay. Happy to do it. Let me grab this.
Sorry.
No problem. Is that a little bit better?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, so. Okay. Robert, would you like me to hold off just a minute?
You ready?
Me? This one's already recording. So
wonderful. Okay, so I'd like to begin today by giving you a little bit of a sense of the homeless community here in Arizona as it relates to families. And then I'm going to talk about Family Promise itself, give you some history on Family Promise, and then I'm going to get into the details of how we operate. So Family Promise, to begin with, is a homeless shelter for families. So I want to give you some statistics about families in Maricopa County. So basically in the Phoenix area, on any given night, there's about, or in a year I should say, there are 25,000 homeless in Maricopa County. About 50% of those, a little over that, are families. But there's a real irony in that statistic, and that is that the perception of homelessness in the Phoenix area, and for the most part around the country, is this man who is dressed in disheveled clothing, looks rather dirty, and is begging. And I must say to you that, first of all, that is not what homelessness looks like. That's an example of a very small percentage of the male population who are chronically homeless. Homeless families, for the most part, you have never known you were looking at them. In fact, I would argue that the majority of homeless families, the vast majority, look exactly like us. This past year we had a police officer, a firefighter, we've had professional singers, we've had every kind of worker you can imagine in our program. The bulk of homelessness in Maricopa County is first-time homelessness. First-time homelessness means that they're basically homeless due to the loss of their job and not having enough savings to cover the bridge between that job and the next job. So they ran out of money. So what happens is the majority of families who become homeless are families just like us who, through circumstances, lose their employment, they run out of their savings, and they begin to do something called doubling up. Doubling up is they begin to stay with family or with friends to try to bridge that gap and not be into a truly homeless situation. Unfortunately, the majority of those, over time, will end up either living in their car or on the streets. So, in Maricopa County, so in primarily the Phoenix area, there are 6 family shelters. So, all of those 6 family shelters are completely full. Now, some of you may know of some of these shelters. I'll just mention a few. UMOM, that's an example of a family shelter. Vista Colina is a family shelter here in the valley. La Mesita at a New Leaf is a family shelter in the valley. And of course, the Kaiser Center, which is a Salvation Army group, also is a family center. But Family Promise falls into this category. The irony is that Family Promise actually handles homelessness much different than most of the family shelters in the valley. So what I want to do is take a few minutes and give you a little bit of history of Family Promise. And it's important that you understand this history because I personally believe, that it was divinely inspired. And that this organization is no accident. That this organization is thriving because it is divinely manifested. So I would begin by telling you that Karen Olson, back in, what was the exact year? I think it was 25 years ago. Thank you for that. 25 years ago, a woman by the name of Karen Olson.
Exactly. Yeah. So 87.
Thank you for that. That's why we have board members. They can think so much quicker than we can. 25 years ago, a woman by the name of Karen Olson noticed some homeless families in the streets of New York City and began by offering them sandwiches. And that sandwich was just simply a way to support them in a very difficult time. But she realized after doing this a few days that it just simply wasn't enough. And so she didn't really have a way to take the next step with these families. So she went to a congregation that she was aware of that might have the ability to take care of this family on an overnight basis, and she asked if they would help. And they said yes. And I've talked to her so many times about what caused this to happen, and she said she just felt the need to take the next step past food. So she offered through that church them shelter for the night. So the irony of that is that was the beginning of an absolutely magnificent movement across this country. So I want to explain how it exploded and how this turned into something that is changing the lives of thousands and thousands of people. Here's how it worked. After she got that one church to help, she realized that there were more families that needed help and that she might need more churches. So she went to additional churches and asked them to help. And in asking them to help, she began to create a network. What used to be called, I still call it this on occasion, an interfaith hospitality network. Right? And the job of that network became, I think job is the wrong word. The blessing of that network was that they could provide the meals for the family, the evening dinner, and the overnight stay. So that family would be safe while they're working to get back on their feet. Just an amazingly simple idea, but that became Family Promise. So the way it works, let me see if I can give it to you in a kind of a skeletal way, just give you a picture of how Family Promise works, and that's today, okay? Family Promise is a drug-free, alcohol-free work program. So what that means is our primary role is to help families who are homeless to get back on their feet employed and sustainable as quickly as possible. Okay? So what we do is we screen our families, and if they can come in, if we have an opening, we will welcome the entire family into our shelter. Now that's an important thing to say to you, because if you don't know this, the majority of homeless shelters are a large room with a bunch of beds in it that will not welcome the male part of the family, the dad, into that shelter. And I understand that. It's because of safety. There are concerns about safety. So the majority of time, the women and children are separated from the father. We do not do that at Family Promise. We welcome the entire family. And it is a risk, but it's a risk that we've chosen to take for the entire length of time Family Promise has been doing this. And we don't have any incidents to cite that would justify ever changing that. But what happens is, when that family comes into our program, that very first day, they're going to be screened for drugs, and we observe for alcohol, and if we need to, we'll test. We do a complete background check because we don't allow felonies within the last 10 years. We don't allow any violent felonies. So if they clear all of that in our interview process, then we will invite that family into our shelter. So what happens, and I'll just give you a quick sense of this. You know, I mentioned to you earlier that families look just like us. I'm just going to show you some pictures of the family as I get toward the shelter. You know, truly just like us. Everything you can imagine. Just so you know, sometimes the family is grandma and grandpa with the child. You know, the majority of homeless families in Maricopa County and in Family Promise are single mothers with 3 children. Not 2, but 3. Below the age of 10. So can you imagine being a single mother trying to raise 3 kids on the street or out of a car? It's absolutely incredible. But we do have single dads. We have moms and dads, grandmas, grandpas, just to give you a sense of it, okay? But they truly are wonderful people. In fact, I just want to say this. I'll say, you're going to hear this a few times from me today, but I'm not afraid to say it. These are some of the most courageous people I've ever met in my life. And I mean in any walk of life. To be able to raise 3 children out of a car, looking for a job, trying to survive, it is incredible the amount of strength the majority of these families have. So this is Family Promise. That's our actual facility. We're located in Scottsdale. It's just ironic. We actually were located in Phoenix, not far from here, for most of our time. But in 2008, I guess it was, we purchased this property, or the board purchased this property. It was an old 8-plex apartment complex, and they turned it into a day center, an office, and transitional apartments. It's a really neat facility. But anyway, after that family goes through that screening process, we'll invite them in. And so they'll go into one of our day centers. We actually have 2 of them, but a day center is, that family's going to go in that first day and just kind of be there for the day, right? There's not a whole lot's going to be done that first day. They're very scared usually, especially the children. You know, children in homelessness go through something that most of us cannot even fathom. So that first day they don't do much. But that evening at 5 o'clock, our bus or our vans, one of our vans, picks that family up, normally with 3 other families, and takes them to a hosting congregation. Somebody like you guys. And what happens is they'll arrive there around 5:30 in the evening and kind of get situated in their space there. And then at 6 o'clock in the evening, that congregation is going to provide the evening meal to those families. And as I say, it's never more than 5 families, but on average, it's usually 4 families. Okay? So the coolest part about this is it's that congregation's families serving our families. We encourage the children. So in other words, families with children, we love to have them involved. I'll share a little secret with you if you don't know this, that children don't see homelessness the same as adults. They actually don't really recognize it. And the coolest part about that is that means when kids play with kids, it's just like being at home, right? It's just normal. It's a very important part of our program. So they eat that evening meal, and you understand when you're living out of a car, meals don't come that easy, right? And so you don't have the resources to buy meals. So all of a sudden, this family is receiving a warm, loving meal from a congregational family or families. That's a very important part of our formula. After dinner, and by the way, our congregations charge us absolutely nothing to deliver those meals. What a blessing. So then after dinner, depending on the congregation, some of them will have activities planned for our families, and some won't. Some of them, they don't have anything planned, and our families like it both ways, right? Sometimes they just want to rest. Sometimes they want to do things. And then normally, at 9 o'clock in the evening, our families will go to bed on our beds at that facility. So just to give you an example, at my church, they go to bed on our blow-up beds. They're little blow-up mattresses, twin-size mattresses, and they're going to sleep on those mattresses in 4 separate areas normally. So that in our church, it's we have 3 different classrooms, and then we kind of have an activity room, and that's where those beds go. And so they're made up for the families, so they have their own space. In some congregations, it's a single room separated with dividers, just like sheets that are used to divide the room into 4 quadrants, because we normally have 4 families. But what happens is they sleep there overnight, and the congregation provides the overnight chaperones. So I'm commonly at my church the overnight chaperone, one of the overnight chaperones, and I absolutely love it. I'm just telling you a secret for those of you who ever are doing this, you need to understand it's the best position in the house. And the reason it is because it's my opportunity to really get to know the families. Even though I'm at the family center with them, I don't get to know them that well there. I get to know them at the churches. And overnight chaperoning is that opportunity, so I love that position in hosting. So the overnight chaperone stays the night, normally on our blow-up mattresses in a separate area. And then, and by the way, that's there just in case something were to happen during the night. I'll give you an example. A child gets sick during the night, needs a little Pepto-Bismol. We have a medical box with Pepto-Bismol in it, and that stays with the overnight chaperones. So it's a way to support those families if they have some kind of ailment that comes up. I would also tell you, it's kind of interesting, we've had babies in the network. So we've had to take a mother to the hospital from the church to deliver a baby. We've had a few of those, haven't we, Cheryl? The neatest part about that is that it's kind of like they have a family here. You know, it's really like a family taking care of a family, and we're watching out for them. So anyway, they sleep the night, that first night, and then at 5 o'clock the next morning, the chaperones wake them up. And that's just to have a light snack normally, not really a full breakfast, but a light snack, and then get back on the bus or the van to come back to the day center. Now, that's awfully early. I would acknowledge I don't even particularly like getting up that early, but the truth of the matter is we do that because we've got a lot of people to get showered for school, and we only have 1 shower in the day center down at the at Family Promise. So there's a lot of management, and I laugh about it because in my family there were 4 boys and 1 girl, and it was like a war every morning. And so can you imagine having 10 to 12 kids to get through 1 shower? But the parents are brilliant at managing that, and that's a part of our program. So they get showered and ready for school. The parents get ready to go to work if they have work. If they don't, they get ready to go to work with us to get work. 50% of our families are employed within 28 days of arriving at Family Promise. I just share with you that's called a blessing. That's not really because we're magnificent. I think that's a blessing. I think the Lord's got His hands on us. So, so that finishes that day for that family at the hosting location. Now, what I just described to you, the evening meal, the overnight, and the morning, that happens 7 days in a row at that congregation. So it starts on Sunday night, and then it goes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all the way to Sunday morning. Now that's actually a really important time period because the beauty of this program is the 7 days is magical. 7 days gives our families an opportunity to get to know and love your families. That's how this works. It's all about relationship. It's all about getting to know their names. It's about their feeling toward you. So what I'm going to tell you is that part of the magic of Family Promise, different than any other shelter in the Valley, is that we focus on love. We focus on relationships. Internally, we call this a love immersion program. Now that may sound a little bit corny to some people, but I'm going to tell you that children who come into Family Promise, they look a little bit different than regular children. The fear or the uncertainty that comes with homelessness for children is dramatic. Yes, ma'am. Can I answer a question?
Does any take medicine that need it?
Some of our families do take medicine. And we control that through the administration of the office staff at the day center, or we'll do that at the through the host coordinator at the church. But that's all kept in a locked medical box. Very good question. Thank you for asking. Okay. So I said to you this is like a love immersion program, because when children come in who are homeless, they have really been affected negatively by this uncertainty of homelessness. I can't tell you honestly that I understand that completely, because I've never been homeless. Most of us have not been. But give that child 7 to 10 days in this love immersion program, and they will transform. They will begin to act like normal children act. The laughing, the eye contact, the best friending other family members. Those are things that we all do, but families who are homeless have a lot of struggles in that area. So that's part of what makes this work. So now what I'd like to do is take you a little further through the campus to just show you what Family Promise looks like. So this is the inside of our courtyard. It doesn't really look like a homeless shelter. You see that? I would tell you it doesn't feel like a homeless shelter, because no family that comes through the gates to our facility is homeless anymore. Understand that. We're a permanent address. When a family comes through our gates, they are no longer treated as a homeless family. They have a home. That home is us, and at Family Promise. And we want them to feel that way. We want them to feel that way when they come to visit the congregations. But we have a beautiful courtyard with this cool, really cool canopy. You see that there? Don't you wish you could have that in your backyard?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Before we had that canopy, the children would play on the playground equipment, but only with a hose, spraying on them because it's so hot. But with this canopy, it's absolutely beautiful. So, by the way, I'm going to extend this invitation now, but I'm going to do it a few times today. We would love for you to come visit Family Promise, and you don't need to have an appointment. You can come anytime, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, or even on Saturday, 8 to 5. Yes, sir.
What's the location of this place?
Do you guys remember the old Los Arcos Mall in Scottsdale? Does anybody here remember that? I remember it really well.
Yeah.
It's the same space, basically, except for 1/2 block to the south of that. So Scottsdale Road and McDowell. It's a fantastic location. And we would love to have you visit if you ever have that chance. So this is the courtyard. I just wanted to let you get a look at that. One of our kids doing a little bit of gardening work. Can you see that okay, Diane? I'm sorry. We have a garden there.
Oh, I love it.
And that picture was taken this morning, so it just got planted yesterday. And I'm going to give you a picture of what it's going to look like in about 45 days.
Oh, wow.
That's last spring, about the same time. This garden thrives. And so it's just an opportunity to have something like home. Yes, sir.
You said you have a location in Scottsdale. Two of them are located in Scottsdale.
We have 2 day centers in the same location.
Okay. Do you have any other ones around the valley?
We don't, but here's the good news. We serve families from all over the valley. So we bring them to our location.
How many families do you service in one day?
In a given day, we'll have about 10 families on site. It just depends on, sometimes more, sometimes less, but 10 families at a time. So in a year, we'll serve about 100 families this year.
Wow, thank you very much.
So do you provide families transportation? If, for instance, they're in Central Phoenix, and they
Bus
call you and
passes.
say, look, we need a ride, will you come and get them?
Yeah, what we normally do is, there's a number of ways we handle that. One is, Cheryl's exactly right, we provide bus passes to families at no cost to be able to help them get around the valley. In addition to that, when we find a family that's in need of shelter, we have two options. One is to go pick them up in our own van, which we've done a fair amount, or to ask Contacts, which is another agency, a collaborative agency to Family Promise.
Transport.
Yeah, we'll ask them to come and get our families and bring them to us, and they will.
That's beautiful.
Yes, yes, sir. Oh, excuse me.
Go to different places and give this talk.
I do. I give this talk whenever I can. I love to give this talk. Thank you for asking.
Because I would like you to come to where I live to be able to talk to them.
I would love to talk to anybody I could talk to. Yes, sir.
Yes, I was going to ask you is the locations of the different places that are assisting you with transportation, food, and all that kind of stuff. Do you have a list of those places?
We sure do. As a matter of fact, we're going to give you guys, everybody here, a brochure that gives you a sense of the number of churches. It may not be in that, it's only in the newsletter. But let me give you a sense of this, okay? We have almost every denomination in the entire valley in our network. I don't want to say that absolutely, but just to give you some names, to give you a sense of this. The Catholic community is heavily involved in Family Promise. So St. Patrick's, for example, St. Benedict, for example. The Nazarene Church is very involved in Family Promise. Presbyterian Church, the Methodist churches in the valley, the Lutheran churches in the valley, United Church of Christ, of course, in the valley. The LDS community is involved. We have the Jewish community involved, not in hosting, but in supporting our families. So we have a number of mega churches involved. You know, well, I guess Crossroads Nazarene would be considered a mega church, Mountain Park Community Church. Yes, sir.
Do you have victims of domestic violence who participate? And the question I have is, how do you keep the perpetrator of the domestic violence away from them?
I think it's a very good question. So let me tell you two things. One is, we do not take care of domestic violence. We are a public shelter, which means that we are not hidden. And that would not make it safe for people who are in domestic violence situations. However, having said that, we are great collaborators with domestic violence shelters. They know us really well. And so we are working, when we see a family that's got domestic violence, we know exactly where to help them and exactly who to talk to get them support. So that's part of our role. And that's an important part of our role, is to see that and to help. Yes, sir.
So we run into a case, I'm a nurse, I'm not right.
Yes.
I work with a lot of this stuff. Well, so say we run into a case of domestic violence out there, can we refer them to you? Because they may, you might refer them to another agency who might be able to help them.
You absolutely could. But I think the important thing, the better answer for you, is to tell you that the more direct line to that help
It's not the referral line?
is, watch this. Well, this is cool. I think this is really cool. Does everybody know 211? 211 really does work. 211 for a person in domestic violence is a golden call. So they just like 911, they dial 211 and say, I'm in a domestic violence situation. 211 knows that this is a dangerous situation. They know it needs to be kept anonymous, and they will support that family. So I would suggest that's the better call, but I don't want to discourage anybody for a second from calling us. We know these people, we know the shelters, and we would be happy to help, okay? So let me continue just a little bit now that you've seen the garden. Here's what the inside of our day center looks like. It is beautiful.
I want to live
It doesn't always look. No, it doesn't always look.
All right, don't tell them that.
Well, that's a falseness. I mean, it's
So the cookies aren't always on the table.
and the flowers. And the flowers.
So it's staged, okay?
No,
But I would-
grand opening.
Oh,
Yeah, it had a grand opening.
But the important part is the couches are identical. But the good news is that it's a home, and a good home for our families. It does feel like home. When you come by to visit, it feels like home. So I wanted to just share that with you. We have a computer lab that was just recently put together for us by a couple of donors. So grateful for that. And so we have a center where our families can work and search for jobs and print. And also they have their own phone. It's sitting, I think, right between here. But anyway, they have their own phone so that they can get phone calls or place phone calls. Our office is located in the same complex. So we have a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom. I thought I'd just give you a sense of that. This is our office. That's Cheryl's seat right there. You can tell because there's a cat blanket over the back. And, oh, it's a dog blanket, excuse me.
Yeah. Oh, that's our boy.
Oh, my. This was a previously homeless cat.
Doesn't look homeless now.
No, spoiled would be an understatement.
He is so cool.
But he is an amazing cat who loves the families, and the families love him, so he lives on site. We are the only shelter in the entire valley that now welcomes families with their pets. You know, one of the shames that Cheryl and I experienced this intimately on a regular basis before we had the pet program, which is you'd offer a shelter for a family that needed shelter. They were homeless. And they'd say, well, can you take my pet? And you'd say no, and they would refuse shelter. They would prefer to live in their car or live on the street than to give up that pet. And believe it or not, although I've never been homeless, I understand that. And so we created the first ever, with the help of PetSmart, shelter program for families with their pets. So we've had about 13 families so far with their pets. And we have 3 now, right, Cheryl? 3 cats?
3 cats. Yeah. How did these animals all get along? They're in separate cages.
They're in separate cages.
They're in kennels. Are
And
they just running around? You love
no.
them. Do you have a picture of them?
I think I have a picture. So, this is one of the families.
Oh yeah, there's one of them.
That's Garfield, by the way.
Yeah,
He's adorable.
he's a good boy.
He's a
I
good
have
boy.
a comment. I work,
Yes, sir.
I work with people in the mental health field, and placing people in housing sometimes. And during a person with domestic violence, I found a resource. The Humane Society took this woman's dog for, I want to say, like 7 weeks. While she was
getting
situated.
They have a
Very
foster
nice.
program.
They had a foster
They do. I read
program
about
for
that.
their pet. And a lot of people doesn't know about this.
Yep.
And it was a great resource because it gave her the time to go to a rehab.
Right. They have foster programs.
And yeah, and it was a great,
Yeah.
because you know, she wasn't going to do anything. She was going to stay stuck because of the dog.
Right.
Yeah.
So similar.
It's a great point. It's a great point. And the coolest part, and I think your point is, that the family pet is a family member. And that animal provides stability to the children. It's the optimist in the family, no matter what the circumstances are. So we felt a responsibility to try to figure this out. And then, quite frankly, PetSmart was a blessing when they offered to help us. So we have the capacity to handle 8 cats. There's our cat cages. We have 8 of them. They're very nice. The families take care of their own pets while they're in the daytime, and then we take care of them in the evening and the nighttime. Isn't that something? And then we have a dog side to our sanctuary as well. And so I just wanted to, and by the way, what you didn't notice, this is the living room of the sanctuary. So they get to play in their living room just like it's a living room at your own house. One family at a time. Yes, sir?
Yeah, what's the extended stay in these places?
The maximum term at Family Promise is 60 days. Now that sounds really short, but let me share something with you. We have the highest success rate in the valley, bar none, of every family shelter, and our average stay is 41 days. So that's partly, in fairness, I must say, that's partly because of collaborations, which means we have great organizations that'll take them into sustainable housing, the next step, which we don't have. So part of that is blessing, right? All right, let me keep going here. We got a lot of ground to cover. There's a little pet. There's Snowball getting spoiled by one of our families. Now, this is an actual picture of a church hosting, so kind of a buffet-style dinner. Thought we'd give you a picture of how that works. It's pretty basic, but it works really well. And the families just enjoy the meal. Not all of them serve it. This church happens to serve it. Most families will self-serve. So this is a little bit of an exception in that way. And then they all eat together. Families with families eating together at the church. In this case, it's a gymnasium. So that's just an example of how it works at the church level, right? This is what, I'm sorry, this is a little bit older picture. I was embarrassed to say I don't have, and we've been hosting with blow-up mattresses for about a year, but I don't have a picture, but it looks basically the same. So these are our beds in an area at a hosting church. Here's another picture. This is one where they used a drape between the bedroom areas, but the same concept. Okay? So that's where the families sleep. And the churches, just so you know, provide all the linens. So one of the reasons it takes a number of people to host is that our families, like at my church, when the families are going to come, the mattresses come first, and then we make up all the mattresses into beds. We provide the mattress pads, the sheets, the pillows, the pillowcases. So we make them all up just like this. So when the families arrive, the beds are made and ready to go. When the families leave, we take each of our beds and stuff them all inside the mattress, except for the blow-up mattress, all the linens, and we put them in front of the sanctuary, and by the end of the service, they're all gone. And within a week, they're all back at the church, having been washed, put back in the pillowcases, put back in the closet, ready for hosting the next time. Isn't that neat? It's a neat way for the entire church to participate. Okay? So I wanted to give you a sense of that. Now, I want to leave this little part of my presentation with the idea that, remember, there's this fear about homelessness, and it just simply isn't true. And that is that they're going to look different. They don't look different. They're just like us. I honestly believe that. They're families just like us who just need a little bit of assistance. And so when you host, I'm gonna just tell you up front, warn you, you will fall in love with these families. They are amazing people with amazing children, and we're blessed to be a part of it, of their journey, of their family. So that's what we do at Family Promise, okay? And so that, if you were thinking about the idea of how does hosting work, that's how it works. It's basically spending the day in the day center with us, and then in the evening, going to the congregations for a 7-day period, and then every Sunday we go to a different congregation. Now, there's an important piece of this formula that I want you guys to understand. I told you that children change in this program. When they've been involved with the churches, that they change. I just want to give you an example of that. And then I'm going to let the families speak for themselves for a little bit here. Cheryl and I oftentimes get to witness when the families are leaving the church on Sunday morning. So Sunday morning is a very important time for us because it's the last time our families are likely to ever see that church again. Our average church hosts 4 times a year. So that's about every 3 months. And our average family is only in for 41 days. So on Sunday morning, our families know that they're going to be leaving for the last time. Does anybody have any idea what that morning is like? Yeah, it's tears. It's oftentimes tears between our families and the families from the congregation serving our families. And the reason for that is because they have grown to like each other, to love each other, to enjoy their time together, and they don't want to leave. So that's part of what makes this so special. And yeah, it sounds corny. It sounds kind of, okay, you know, they love on everybody, but you know what? That's really what makes this program so powerful. Now, to that argument, I told you Karen Olson started this 25 years ago, asking one church to help and then another. Today, there are 184 family promises across the nation. We are one. We're one of the larger ones here in Arizona, but we are one of 184 in over 6,000 congregations hosting, helping over 50,000 people a year. Now, I'm a businessman who chose to get into this work. And I just want to share something with you. I'm an entrepreneur, so I've built a few businesses. I have never in my life seen a business model more brilliant than this one. The matchup of helping families and our families helping churches to experience the mission work that God asked us to do is absolutely unbelievable. I am personally blessed, and I mean this sincerely, to be a part of it. To be able to share that story is my mission work. That's why I said to you earlier, I would love to speak. I always want to talk about Family Promise. I am so proud of this work. But let's not mix any words here. The healers in our program are our churches. That's what makes this work. There is no other way to do this, but every time we try to vary anything, God kind of corrects us back into the model again and makes sure that we're doing it the right way. So that's what we do. Now what I'd like to do is take a few minutes and let you listen to the families who get served by Family Promise so that you understand in their words how powerful this is for them. So I'd like to just take a second to get this loaded, and I'll share this video with you guys.
Leaving, we ended up getting evicted.
I had to leave my home because it was dangerous. Yeah, I had to get my children out of there.
It could happen to anyone, and it did.
The people that we have in our shelter are everyday people. They're not the mean people, they're not all the drug addicts. They're beautiful, beautiful human beings that have just had a lot of negative input in their lives.
Someone who's in a homeless situation is in a situation that does not define who they are or what kind of person they are.
It could happen to anyone, and it does. Many people are just one paycheck away from being homeless.
My impression of the people that are here are people who need help. And people who need help come in all shapes and sizes and colors.
We had one lady who volunteered with her 2 children, and she told them, we're going to go, and there's some homeless people there, and they have kids your age. They got there, they met the children, everybody played, they had a great time, and on the way home, the girl said, well, when are we going to go meet the homeless people?
Homelessness is such a faceless thing, but it puts a face. In homelessness, you meet people and you discover that they're just like us.
And these people have helped us enormously. It was almost like being home, but you weren't home.
It's not just a place to lay your head. It's a support system. It's the people around you that make you feel good. They make your children feel good. So it's a really great program for anybody who's in this situation.
This one lady, she took me maternity shopping, so I didn't have to go out and buy all these clothes I really couldn't afford.
That's not just provide a meal and shelter, but it provides the tools that clients need to become self-sufficient.
Ultimately, it's like another family.
IHN is screening new beginnings.
They've had a second chance in their life.
IHN has put the smile back in my face and the twinkle in my daughter's eyes, and there's no price that you could ever put on that.
Volunteering with IHN gives you the opportunity to show love exactly where it's needed.
I've come to the belief that this is not the place that the families want to be, and my job is to make them as comfortable as possible with as much hospitality as possible.
To see these people when they come in and when they leave, to see Ann tonight so excited because she got her apartment. You know, you almost cry right with them because you're so excited for them.
I am so happy to say that Ann has been approved for her house and she gets the key tomorrow.
In a way, it made me me feel sad because this is their last night with us. It's very touching.
I want to say that I feel so relieved, and everybody's been so nice and so helpful. I can't put it in better words than that. I thank all of them, and they're really helping people. I've never seen anything like that before.
All right, so that is sort of in the eyes of our families why this is wonderful work. I think what I want to do more than anything is I want to open this discussion up to you, to ask you what kind of questions you might have about Family Promise and how this works. What kind of things might be of concern to you? Yes, sir.
I was wondering if you could explain the role of the host church and the supporting church.
Okay. So good question. We have two different kinds of churches that help us. A hosting church is the one that welcomes our families at that church. So basically our families would start on Sunday night, stay every night for 7 nights in a row, and then leave. That's called a hosting congregation. That hosting congregation provides the meals in the evening. They provide the place to sleep. They provide the overnight chaperones. They provide the sleeping linens for the church. And then they provide the breakfast supplies and the lunch supplies for our families at the day center. And that's usually a very simple piece. But anyway, a supporting church, generally speaking, is involved in helping us either down at the day center, so you come down to the day center and help with projects down there, or in some cases it's financially supporting Family Promise, helping us to do what we do. Part of what, just so you guys know, and part of that question I think is really important, is what makes us possible is our ability to transport families between all these locations. We spend about $24,000 a year just to move people, and Cheryl manages all of that. It is an enormous amount of work to manage that, as well as we provide case management work. We have a licensed clinical social worker on site. That's a first I'll just brag about her. She's absolutely amazing. She's a talent beyond talents.
Not me.
And, you are too, Cheryl, but anyway, so we also provide that because we want our families to get access to services, to get out of that crisis mentality, to learn how to manage cash better, so we do that as well with our families. So the supporting congregations are oftentimes helping us to do that primarily in a financial way. Also, in one other area, supporting congregations often get involved in activities like whenever we have events, they'll be involved in the events. So, as an example, we just finished our doggy drive-in event last night, where we had, I'm going to estimate about 80 cars watching a drive-in movie. It was Beethoven, and they were watching it with their pets in the car. And we did that to bring awareness to families across the valley about the struggle with families who have pets and homelessness. Yes, ma'am. You had a question? Oh, yes, sir.
Yes, thank you very much for all your information and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm about to leave, so
thank
you for the whole congregation.
Thank you for your questions.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Any other questions?
I wanted to follow up.
And then our
Could it be
website's on here
possible
too,
that
that you can see.
another church, like the pastor from the South Mountain Community Church,
I've met him before. Thank you very much.
could provide some volunteers if the First Congregational United Church, right, was the host church. Would they be able to share the responsibility?
You know what? This happens regularly at Family Promise. That's a good thing. being able to do mission work between churches. For example, there are oftentimes we have small churches that will ask another church to bring the meal in, or they'll ask the cooperation. That's very common, and it works really well that way. So sometimes the predicament is they don't have the space, and so being able, one church will have space, the other will have people, and so those collaborations are fantastic. Absolutely no problem at all.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
We did this in Montana, and the overnight chaperone was changed out in the middle of the night, but they knew a picture of who would be coming, you know. So
wonderful.
They could go help their family, and then the single person would take, you know, like 3 in the morning until 7 or whatever.
Wow, I've never heard of that, but okay.
Is that acceptable if we had a certified?
Of course, of course.
As long as they showed up.
Yeah. We're just looking out for the families, that's all.
What do you do if you have a family, you know, part of the family who has a medical disability?
Well, first of all, we are aware of that on the when we invite them in. So we are prepared for disabilities that we are capable of handling. So for example, if it was severe mental illness, we do not have that.
If the person is, say, legally blind, you know, what do you do then?
I think we would welcome that family. We've not had one that was legally blind, but I'm telling you we've had a number of disabilities, and I suspect what I like to say to people is we're looking for the way to say yes. We're not looking for the way to say no. So the answer to your question is I would welcome that opportunity to serve that family.
What happens if the father has a felony, but the rest of the family comes up clean on the background check?
Well, we welcome a family as a family. So we can't, for the most part, exclude part of the family and welcome them and not the other part. So they must remain a family. Now, I would say this to you, that we are considering to be a little bit more flexible on the length of time they've had felonies. Our board is considering that matter because, you know, people do make mistakes, and we acknowledge that, and we want to help. So we are looking at that as a long-term change to our program. For the most part, as I say, we're looking for a reason to say yes. That's the way we operate. Okay? Yes, sir.
You may have already mentioned this. If so, I can talk to you later.
No worry.
I'm also aware of programs like Save the Family and the United Methodist Outreach Ministry.
Yeah.
So do those take a while to get into? And
yeah.
Do you find that Family Promise, or where do people go after they go to Family Promise? Are most people going to places like that, or are they going to other places?
That is a great question, because I think I would be remiss not to compliment the organizations that we work with. We have 24 collaborative partners, including UMOM, Save the Family, A New Leaf, Vista Colina, Salvation Army, you know, so what you're asking is a critical piece of our success, and that is that they're our next step housing. So our families come in oftentimes off the street or out of their cars, and our goal is to get them into a UMOM permanent supportive housing situation where they can sustain that housing over a couple of years while they get back on their feet, right? So it's a very important piece of what we do. And they are great partners, and we couldn't do it without them. That's absolutely true. So, and great organizations too as well. So, what other question? Yes, ma'am.
How much time do your counselors spend in trying to find them a job? I mean, do you spend so much time with each person, or what?
Yeah, so each family gets assigned a case manager, and normally that case manager is overseen by our social work manager, Nicole Delgado. So what happens is they have mandatory 1 hour a week of case management, and they have mandatory 1 hour a week of group therapy at our facility. And then on an everyday basis, they're following up with how is the job search going. Our primary role is to get them back employed. That's our primary role. So I would simply answer that question by telling you that our number one focus in our work with our families is to get them employed. That's the number one reason we're doing this. Yes, go.
We're very close to Vista del Camino, and that's a job resource center there. It's a CAP office for Scottsdale. So all of our families that come in go there to get their resume built and to look for jobs. There's a whole job work. There's every day there's something going on at Vista. Yes, it is like a super center. They have everything there, and it's about a block and a half away. So our families are all encouraged to go there, for one, to get their resume built, to help them get it online, to help them with job skills that they might need help with. So they all go there to look for work, and all the jobs are posted there. Then they come back to our office, since we got our new lab set up, our computer lab, and then look for additional jobs there. But they're all accountable. They have to be looking for work, because it's not a lounge area during the day. You have to be successfully looking for work, because it's a short-term stay. So, and they know that, and their main goal is to try to find a job. They don't want to be unemployed. They want to do good. And to get into the Next Step program, you need work. So.
Yes, sir.
So, well, the families are out. Do you provide child care?
The kids are in school, so they must be.
Here, Cheryl. Cheryl, hold on, let me get you.
Younger.
We do have child care services. Okay. Last year at our benefit, we raised funds for child care, because that was really the main thing holding back. DES made so many cuts in the last couple of years. Right. You couldn't get child care to save your life. We do have that money now set aside for our families. So, but that's used for looking for work. You're not going to just drop your child off while you're going to watch movies. It doesn't work that way. While you're looking for work, trying to get your services set back up, your benefits set up, you can't bring a child with you. So that's where the child care comes in. So we do have that, and it's used. It's used quite a bit, and it's right near us, right? The child care services that we use. Mm-hmm.
So it's off-site.
It's off-site. It's not on grounds. No. We talked about that, but that's a whole nother ballgame. Yeah.
What do you do with the families who have lost their identity and their birth certificates and cannot enroll their children in school?
We help them get that.
And what is the time frame for that? I know birth certificates take forever to get.
If you do them online, they're pretty good within a week to 10 days. We do. In the past, we used to say they had to have the documents, but so many people leave different houses, they move, they lose them, they have no clue where they're at.
Are you welcoming undocumented homeless families?
No, we really don't, because they're not eligible to work. So undocumented people, we do not. No. But there's other programs that do, and we'll send them in that direction. Yes, ma'am.
Well, if a person is in a wheelchair and unable to work.
Well, if they're collecting disability, they do have still a source of income. So if they're in a wheelchair and collecting services and have a family, we'll welcome them in. We have had people in wheelchairs. And now our offices, with our new renovations that were just remodeled, it's all wheelchair accessible, and it's all ADA accessible. So we can take handicapped persons. Yes.
With people that are wheelchair bound, do you have walk-in showers?
Yes, roll-in showers.
Roll-in showers.
Yep, we sure do.
Okay.
The construction just finished.
Yeah, January.
We moved in the end of January.
Beginning of January.
Beginning of January.
I think we'll stop here. And
okay.
If anybody wants to have their questions answered, they can talk to Cheryl.
Absolutely.
Or Ted after the meeting. So, because Al needs to.
Okay.
So let's give him a second. And let us stand for the 74th, okay?
Thank you.